Fantastic. Yeah, please send that over to me. I'll review it. Correct. Yeah, send it over to me and I'll review it, and then I'll send you over a proposal, and then we can lock it down. And the soonest I can be there is a week from Thursday. Correct. Okay, sounds great. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. I'll tell you what, I think one of the biggest struggles that people are having in our industry is how to do a proper sales presentation, right? And so I think first and foremost, when I talk to my clients, if they're struggling in that area, I ask them, how long are you taking to do your presentation, right? And it's usually the answer that I get is about, 15, 20 minutes, half hour maybe, sometimes 5 minutes, right? And so I think that's the biggest thing that's broken right there. And the other thing is how they're qualifying their clients. So I just want to talk about those two issues right now. And basically, how are you qualifying your customers, right? I mean, some of the prospects that I think that you're going out to see, you don't have any business in going out and to see them in the first place. So let me explain. I mean, first of all, I think you need to explain how your process works, at least a little bit, before you even go out there, right? So one of the things that the clients are always asking or telling you is that they need you to come out and give them a price. And so I think that we want to explain to them that, well, sir, I can give you a price before I ever even put my hand on my tape measure and come out there. And the price is a total replacement cost value, right? And then you have to explain that a bit, not in too much depth, but you have to cover that a bit on the phone, before you even go out there, to make sure this is not someone that's looking to pocket insurance money or, to get out of paying the deductible or something like that. Or they're looking to use your estimate to get the insurance company to pay a lot of money to them, right? You have to look out for all those things. Although sometimes I think that those problems exist simply because the client doesn't know any better. And I think it's up to us to educate that client, and I think a lot of times when you do that and you complete all these steps, then where before you may have had a client that was their mentality, that was their mindset, when it's not that they were trying to be fraudulent, right? That they were trying to be a shady client. It's just that they were trying to be a savvy customer, like a lot of us, right? They're trying to get the best deal. And you have to give them a little credit because most clients don't go through this all the time like we do, right? And so they're not familiar with how it works. And so I think we have to help them with that. So, when a prospect calls you up and you're getting their name and their telephone number and their address, and hopefully you're asking them for a basic description of the damages and how it happened, I think you need to add 5 questions to that. And I'd be curious to know, if any of you guys are asking these questions. You need to ask 5 questions. And those 5 questions are, number 1, have you already notified the insurance company? Number 2, have they already sent somebody out? Number 3, what'd they say? Number 4, who is the insurance company? Number 5, and when are you looking to get the project completed, right? Separate the pretenders and the people that are just looking to get ideas to take advantage of you, and really start to only go places where they're actually serious contenders and not pretenders, right? Where they're serious prospects, and they're the type of client that you think qualify to do business with you, not the other way around. I think we need to first start there and decide for ourselves that we're only going to do business with those who qualify to do business with us, right? They think it's the other way around, and I think that you're falling into that trap a lot of times by allowing them to qualify you when you should actually be qualifying them. So those are the 5 questions about pre-qualifying your client. And so now I want to talk about what happens when you get to a prospect's property, right? I think too many times the mistake that we're making right away is we're showing up and we're just kind of letting the client take the lead, if you will. So the client, we get there, they know what we're there for, and they're right away trying to take our hand and lead us over and show us where the damage is, right? And I think that's backwards. I think we need to take control. And so, yes, sir, I'm going to take a look at all of that. for sure. I'm going to look at everything. In fact, I'm going to look at everything, I'm going to inspect the entire property for storm damage, and if that's what we're there for, storm damage. And I'm going to spend a lot of time doing that. But before I do, I brought a packet of information with me, and I just want to take a few minutes, if I could, to sort of give you a brief summary of what's included so that you understand what's here. So maybe in that packet you have your contact, Mr. Jones, this is our contact information, this is our address, this is how to get in contact with us, a phone number, website, email contact, after hours number, that kind of thing. This is our BBB information. This is our liability insurance information. This is our certifications for this and for that and all the bells and whistles, right? And here's some reference information. And then here is a step-by-step sort of process of how we work, right? Because I want you to understand now the direction of how all of this is going to go, so that you know each and every step as it comes, what's getting ready to happen, right? And so that there are no surprises and there's no hidden agendas, right? So first is really step one, what I'm doing now, which is, introducing ourselves to you and explaining how we work, right? And second, I'm going to do a detailed inspection, like I said before, with the entire property, and I'm going to take hundreds of photos, drone video, other video stuff, moisture detectors, core sample, whatever it is, the things that you're going to do there. And then I'm going to compile all of that. And if there is storm damage, and if I do think that there is a project that we want to take on here, then I'll put it all together into a proposal. And I'll sit in the proposal, by the way. So what I do with there is I want to describe the process of how the insurance process works, right? I want to start there. I want to go over with the client and explain to them how the insurance process typically works. The claims called in, adjuster comes out, we try to be here when the adjuster comes, they inspect it for damages. If they see that there's damages, they'll write you up an estimate, and that estimate will look like this. And that's when I bring in some props with me, and sort of a prospectus or a binder, if you will, maybe laminated. And what I want to do is, if you've ever watched my What's Wrong with This Insurance estimate episodes, basically it consists of a real-life case study of an actual insurance estimate where the insurance adjuster wrote up this estimate, here's the estimate, with all the personal information redacted so that you can't tell who it is, but maybe leave the last four of the claim number so you know it's authentic. But leave everything else in. And so what we're going to do with this is we're going to show them, and they may have already received this, which you know before you come, right? Because you've already asked them. Has the insurance company been notified? Did they send somebody out? What'd they say, right? Well, they say to you that the insurance company came out and they agree that the roof needs replaced. Well, you know that they have one of these estimates in their possession and probably a check, right? So if you know that going into it, then part of your presentation is you can structure the way that you converse with them as if you may recognize this because this is Xactimate. Let me tell you about Xactimate. It was made by a company called Xactware, and what they do is they keep track of every single item in construction, just about. So for example, Xactimate keeps track of what it costs to remove and replace 1 linear foot of baseboard, for example. It also tells you what it costs to remove that piece of baseboard and just reattach it, like just reinstall it. Like maybe you had to fix the drywall, so you had to take it out and put it back on, right? So, and then it also gives you a price for painting that base, like priming that baseboard, painting that baseboard, staining the baseboard, sanding the baseboard, so it gives you a lot of different prices for everything really in construction. And that software, those prices update every month. And the prices in Dallas are different, for example, than the prices in Houston. So every market, it's market specific. And so things like aluminum, you've heard of that recently, right? Aluminum, shingles, fiberglass asphalt shingles are petroleum based. So that's like things like this, lumber, all these things are a commodity. So prices go up and down with the market. So, and supply and demand comes into play too. So if there's a hurricane or a major hailstorm in the market, expect those prices to go up, pretty quickly thereafter. And so that's how the insurance companies price the estimate after they find damages, right? And so the good thing is that we also use Xactimate too. So you would think that there would be no conflict between us and the insurance company as to how we come up with the price for this project. But the problem is that most insurance companies, whether intentionally or not, it's not that they're using the wrong prices, it's that they're leaving out so many of the crucial and critical items that should be in this estimate to do a complete and correct job. And so one of the most crucial and important things that comes into play with these types of scenarios is that the insurance company typically has to pay for what they call ordinance and laws. So that's like building code upgrades, right? And most policies will have this included, especially if they have a mortgage on the property, right? And do you have a mortgage? So I like to actually stop right there and ask them, do they have a mortgage when you're describing that part? Most policies will have that ordinance and law coverage, the building code upgrade coverage. So what that means is that if the roof, for example, if we're talking about roofing, if the roof was put on at a time before certain codes require that, for example, flashings have to be replaced if they're rusted, damaged, or deteriorated. Most people don't know, but a nail going through the flashing, if that's how it was installed, that's damage. Rust on that flashing. So, and with building codes, one of the examples, as you can see from this estimate here, is that this particular roof was missing chimney flashing, but in fact it had a chimney on it. Now the thing that's significant about chimney flashing is that this particular flashing kit had nails through it, and so those nails going through the flashing is actually damaged, and it's required that flashing is replaced. And so, but as you can see, it's missing from the estimate. And it really is quite amazing how many times the adjusters out there never even consider building codes. They just go by what they see up there, and a lot of times miss many of those items too. But this particular estimate was missing chimney flashing, it was missing this, it was missing many different items. So I think you need to take some time there to educate your client. So that's the key here, is educating your client sells your client. That's what closes your client, in my opinion. Like, I've been in different sales scenarios, and I know that they say, like, the client, they never really mean no until they say no 7 different times, right? I don't buy into that garbage for this right here, man, because again, they have to qualify to do business with us. So we lay it out there, all of the facts, the process, the roadmap of everything that's going to happen, right? We educate the client on how the process works, the insurance process, and then how we work. So back to the case study, we show them how a common insurance estimate looks, a real one, by the way. And then we show them the estimate that we wrote in that scenario, right? Showing a proper estimate. And it's basically, Mr. Jones, do you agree that parapet wall cap flashing should be there based on now what I've explained to you about the codes and what's required? We're not allowed to go out here and do the job illegally. No insurance company can force us to do that. Do you agree that it should have been there? So a properly written estimate looks like this. And this estimate is based on building codes and insurance restoration standards, hundreds and hundreds of photographs, extensive documentation, and black and white facts. That's what really should have been done by the adjuster, but they failed to do it. But as you can see, we did it for them. And then over the third thing I want to show you is the final estimate that the insurance company wrote, which they agreed to most, if not all of those items. So I think that you need to do your presentations like that. People are visual, show them how the insurance industry really works in these types of scenarios, right? And then so there's the problem, and then we're showing them how we can solve that problem for them, right? So we're going to conduct an extensive, really, investigation on this property. We're going to pick it apart, and we're going to include everything that should be on that estimate, and we're going to submit that to the insurance company to make sure that they have all the right information. And so the insurance adjuster may only spend 20 minutes at the property, whereas we're going to spend a lot of times hours, several hours, and we may have to come several times to get that documentation and do it correctly. But if it was done correctly, they would pay for it correctly. So that's basically, there's no magic secrets about what we do. That's how we do it. And so that's what I'm going to do first, is I'm going to inspect the entire property. I'm going to put it all together, and then I'm going to put it all together onto a proposal. And then if you're ready to go forward at that time, you're going to have the opportunity to hire me at that time. And so as far as what that proposal looks like, I want to actually give you a copy of that proposal now, a blank copy of it. As far as what the price is on that proposal, I can go ahead and give up that secret now without inspecting anything. As I've already told you, the price is the total replacement cost value, total RCV, which I've already explained to you what that is. So I want to give this to you now. I'm going to go ahead and get started on my inspection, and I'm going to have a lot of homework to do before I'm ready to get to the proposal part before we move forward. Now, you have homework too, quite frankly, because while I'm doing all that, you can check me out. Check out my references, do your due diligence, check us out with the BBB, check out some of these certifications so that you're comfortable and you've done your vetting process before we get to the table, right? Because at that time, I'm gonna be ready to move forward, and you'll have the opportunity to move forward at that time too. But as you know, we're busy and blah, blah, blah. So I think, you know, my best sales people that I've been around have actually, in this industry, have actually not been, you know, the outgoing, you know, I could sell an ice box to an Eskimo kind of guy, but it's mostly been more of the techie guys, nerdy, and gals, more nerdy, but, you know, not really outgoing, but just the facts ma'am kind of people, you know, but they're there to do an investigation and they have a lot of work to do, right? So they're busy. But those people are very purposed. But I find that those people are good with technology, like laptops. They have the ability to upload videos and photos. It doesn't take them a lot to figure that out. They know how to convert things into a PDF and how to attach things to emails and that kind of thing. But they typically can be organized and show up on time. I would prefer somebody like that more so than the outgoing, I don't have to do anything because I'm God's gift to creation, Mr. Big Shot sales guy, you know. So I just think that if you focus more on educating your client, right, before anything else, then I believe that the selling and the closing takes care of itself. And I think by the way, before getting into any of that, I think the first 5 to 7 minutes that you spend with a prospect, forget about all of the reasons why you're there, but first start by genuinely, it has to come from a genuine place, genuinely trying to make a friend. So building rapport, you know, the first 5 to 7 minutes with a client. You know, if you're in their office and you see a Chamber of Commerce thing on the wall, ask them about that Chamber of Commerce thing on the wall. People love, as you probably heard, to talk about themselves. It's their most favorite subject. And so I think you can get people talking about themselves by asking them a lot of questions, right, about themselves. And so that breaks down the barrier and the tension and allows them to be a little more comfortable. Also, one other thing, wherever you intend to close that client with that proposal, or call it the proposal, or, you know, call it the contract proposal or the contract presentation, if you will, wherever you hope for that to go down, I would suggest that you try to do your presentation part of it in the beginning at that same place. So if it's a residential job, if you're hoping to get to their kitchen table or their living room, try to do that in the very beginning. No, I understand, I'm gonna go and take a look at all that, but is there somewhere we can sit down? I brought together a packet of information. I'd like to go over it with you briefly, what's included before I leave with it. So, you know, it's a way to kind of do that. But I just think that you need to qualify your prospects better, right? Try to make a friend. Ask them to come along with you on the inspection. And as you're going along, here's another thing. I never ask people for their insurance company paperwork, right? I never did that. I don't think you really need to. So, but before I leave, make no mistake about it, they're shoving that insurance paperwork into my hand, you know? So how to really do that is, as you go along in your inspection, you know, you've already asked questions like, has the insurance company come out? What did they say? So you kind of know where they stand. You should, without having to see their insurance paperwork yet. So if I want to see it though, a way I might do that is, what the insurance adjuster say when they came out about this here, about the parapet wall flashing? Was that included on there? Because that's actually code required, so was that included? I don't know. Let me go get my insurance paperwork, right? And so if they don't do it there, it's on to the next step. It's on to the next thing. What did the insurance company say about this? When the adjuster was here, what did he say about this? What did he say about that? I want to ask that question 100 times, even if they do have the paperwork. And then after I ask the question, they give me the answer, then I want to give them the prescription, right? So, or the protocol, if you will. So like, okay, I understand. Well, typically what they should do in a case like this is they should also do this and that, right? In any case where there's a modified bitumen roof, you know, any parapet wall has to have parapet wall flashing, right? And so like giving them information that they can use and educating them, explaining them about the exact domain, how that works, right? Empowering the client, the property owner, giving them more information so that they can make a better informed decision anyway. So I like to say this too, whether you hire me or not, don't take my word for it, right? Ask your agent, or don't take my word for it. Do the research, right? So totally no pressure at all. I'm just really there to complete the steps, man. And then when I complete all those steps, just like I promised the client I would in the beginning, right? And I come back and I put that proposal together and I describe everything for them, they already know what I'm gonna do, right? I review all the photos with them, I review all the video footage from them. Everything is complete in black and white on that proposal. I explain everything to them. I don't try to gloss over. I want to make sure they're on board. This is a marriage, man. We're going to be together for a while. So I want to make sure they're 150% in and not half in. Like I had to fool them to get them in and then they find out later, right? So I want them to understand each and every piece of information that I'm there to give to them, and they understand every particle of that proposal, right? And then when I'm done with that proposal and I'm all set and I know that I've done my job, I've done all these steps and I've worked hard at it, right? Then I slide it across the table and I say, if everything meets with your approval, then I'll just need your signature there, there, and there. And there! I'm just kidding.